The battlefield is chaos. The air is thick with the stench of burning flesh and the acrid scent of lost gun discharge. Explosions crack through the sky, reverberating in my bones like the drums of an unforgiving march. The ground is slick with mud, blood, and the shattered remnants of men, aliens, and machines alike. Amidst the violence, the cacophony of war, I can hear him. The officer's voice cuts through the din like a blade. Lucius Dragon. His tone is cold, devoid of any empathy, as if it's just another name on a long list. You're not worth the ammunition. The words slam into me harder than the enemy's rounds. My chest tightens and the world around me blurs as I stumble, confused, disoriented. The sound of my breathing drowns everything else, the harsh rasp of air filling my lungs, mixing with the gunfire. But his words, those words, sharp, final, and damning, still echo. Not worth the ammunition. I can barely move. My legs buckle beneath me, the pain from a dozen wounds shooting through my body, but it's not the pain that makes my stomach twist. It's the feeling that I'm nothing more than a discarded tool, left to rot in this hellscape. A criminal. A soldier. A number, nothing more. The officer doesn't even look back as he walks away, leaving me to die, leaving me to rot with the rest of the failed and forgotten. I try to call out, but my voice is swallowed by the noise of the battle. He's already gone. He's already made his decision. I was never meant to survive this. The penal legions. That's what they call us. We're the criminals, the broken, the scum of the Imperium, dragged out of the prison cells and thrown into the meat grinder of war. Our past sins, our petty thefts, our betrayals, our failures, are forgotten. We're given a chance at redemption, but we all know what it really is. A chance to die. A chance to be useful in the only way the Imperium sees fit. As cannon fodder. They don't care about us. They don't care about who we were, what we might have been. All that matters is that we fight. And when we die in silence. No one remembers us. We're disposable. That's what we are. I was a thief once, a petty criminal, nothing special. And now here I am. A tool of war, thrown into a battle I never asked for, a fight I never chose. I try to rise, but the pain is too much. Blood coats my hands, my arms. My vision fades in and out, and the air is thick with smoke, the screams of the dying ringing in my ears. The world is a blur of movement, chaos, and death. I'm left here, alone in the wreckage. My comrades are gone, either dead or too far gone to help. And the officer, he's long since vanished into the smoke, leaving me to be forgotten. I don't know how much time passes. The world spins in and out of focus, my limbs refuse to obey, and I'm consumed by the overwhelming weight of hopelessness. The sound of the battlefield fades into nothingness as I slip further into my own thoughts. Was this really all I was ever meant to be? Just another disposable tool, to be discarded when the Imperium no longer has use for me? Another statistic in the war machine's unceasing grind? The thought gnaws at me, and for the first time I begin to understand something terrifying. The battle will go on, with or without me. The Imperium doesn't care. They don't care who survives. They don't care if we're human. To them we're just bodies, just numbers. If I die here, I will be forgotten. No one will remember my name, my face, my sins. I will vanish just like all the others. The sound of a distant explosion shakes me from my thoughts. I look up, blinking against the blood and sweat, trying to focus on the chaos around me. The world is falling apart, and I'm nothing but a forgotten piece in the middle of it all. The moment stretches on, endless, as I lie there, unsure whether I even want to survive. I close my eyes for a moment, trying to summon the strength to push myself up. But the truth is, I'm not sure I have anything left inside me. The officer was right. I'm not worth the ammunition. Not to the Imperium. Not to anyone. The thought is bitter, but it's the truth. This is what it means to be a penal legionnaire. To be cast aside, to be used, and to be left behind in the most brutal, unforgiving way. And it's in this moment, as the smoke of war swirls around me, that I realize the harshest truth of all. The only thing that the Imperium ever promised us was death. And as much as I try to cling to life, I'm not sure it's worth it. Not anymore. The ground beneath me is a mess of broken bodies, discarded weapons, and charred debris. It smells like death, like burnt flesh and burning metal. The muffled thunder of artillery and the shrieks of dying soldiers are fading, but the screams in my mind don't stop. They never stop. I try to breathe, but every inhale feels like I'm sucking glass into my lungs. My chest is on fire, a hot, searing pain that feels like 1,000 knives digging into my ribs. Blood spills from my wounds, soaking the ground beneath me, mixing with the earth and the dust of battle. I should be dead by now. It's a miracle I'm not. And yet here I am, alive. At least for the moment. I push myself up on my elbows, trying to gather the strength to rise, but it's like my body has forgotten how to function. I can't feel my legs properly, and my arms tremble under my weight, as though they're about to give out at any moment. The only thing that keeps me from crumpling back into the dirt is the knowledge that if I stay here too long, the world will swallow me whole. I'll be another casualty, forgotten in the rubble, a mere footnote in a war that doesn't care who lives and who dies. Another number. The last thing I remember is the officer. His face is still burned into my mind, the way he sneered as he spoke those words to me, "You're not worth the ammunition. Not worth the ammunition." He left me to die just like all the others, just like the thousands of others who have been discarded before me, swept away like dust in the wind. He turned his back and walked away, leaving me behind in the heart of the battle. He didn't even hesitate, not even a moment's thought for the life he'd just condemned. It was a decision made in a heartbeat, as if I was no more important than the dirt beneath his boots. I try to push that thought away, but it gnaws at me. How could he do it? How could they all do it? I roll onto my side, my head spinning, my vision darkening at the edges. The harsh, unrelenting pain reminds me that I'm still alive. That's what the Imperium does to you. It keeps you alive, forces you to keep moving, even when every instinct in you tells you to stop. But I'm not sure if I want to keep moving anymore. I'm not sure if I want to live. There's no dignity in survival, not for men like me. Men who have been broken, tossed aside like old tools. The penal legions are a punishment, not a second chance. I start to crawl, dragging myself through the muck in the mess of war. I don't know where I'm going, but I can't stay here. I can't lie down and die. Not yet. I'm not sure why. Maybe it's instinct. Maybe it's just the animal in me refusing to give in, but something inside me fights back against the darkness. As I move, I pass the bodies of my comrades. Men who shared the same fate, men who were never meant to survive. They lie there, lifeless, their faces frozen in expressions of terror or pain, some with their hands still clutching their weapons as if they were still fighting. They're all gone now, all of them. Their sacrifices, their struggles, are lost to the void, just as mine will be. We're all just nameless soldiers, thrown away to be forgotten the moment we stop being useful. And then it hits me, the full weight of the realization. I wasn't just abandoned by my commanding officer. I was abandoned by the Imperium. The Imperium doesn't care about us. Not about me. Not about any of us. We're disposable. We're criminals, unworthy of compassion, unworthy of redemption. They take us out of the prisons, throw us onto the front lines, and when we die they move on. Just like that. We're tools. Tools to be used until they're dull and broken. Then they're discarded. I didn't want to believe it. I wanted to believe that this was some twisted kind of justice. That fighting in the penal legions was a chance for me to make amends for the crimes I committed. But the truth is so much worse. This isn't redemption. It's punishment. It's nothing more than a slow, agonizing death, stretched out over a lifetime. I was never going to escape this. I wasn't ever going to find salvation in the eyes of the Imperium. I wasn't going to be the hero they promised us we could become. There's no heroism in this life. There's only survival. Barely. I reach the edge of the battlefield, where the fighting is beginning to die down. The sounds of battle are retreating into the distance, and for the first time since this nightmare started, it's eerily quiet. No more screams. No more gunfire. Just the heavy silence of death. And yet, it's in this silence that I feel it most. The emptiness. My wounds burn with the fire of 1,000 regrets, and yet all I can think of is how alone I am. How utterly, terribly alone. There's no one coming to help me. No one to pull me from this hell. No one to fight for me. There's no honor in surviving. There's only the knowledge that I'm just one more forgotten soul, cast aside in the name of a war that never ends. And the worst part is, I don't even know if I care anymore. It's all too much. The blood, the fire, the endless cycle of violence and death. What's the point of fighting when you know there's no end to it? What's the point of surviving when all you have left is the knowledge that, when you die, no one will even remember your name? I can hear the voice of my old sergeant in my head, barking orders at me, demanding I fight, demanding I keep moving. But his voice is distant now, as if coming from the other side of a void. I try to cling to it, to push through the fog of my mind, but the harder I try, the more elusive it becomes. I try to crawl farther, but I can barely feel my legs. The pain is overwhelming, and my body screams at me to stop, to give in. I don't want to die here, in this mud, forgotten and alone. But at the same time, I don't know if I have the strength to keep going. What's the use? I think bitterly. What's the point of surviving when everything you touch turns to ash? In the distance, I hear the whine of engines, fast approaching. For a moment, I think it might be a rescue, But then I hear the unmistakable sounds of armored boots crunching over debris. I know what that means. I know what it means to be rescued in the Imperium. It's never really a rescue. It's just another link in the chain. Another way for them to claim you, use you, and throw you away when you're no longer useful. And suddenly, I wonder, is that how this is all going to end? Will I be saved only to be thrown into another war? Another battle? Another hopeless struggle? The thought is a knife in my chest. But it's true. It's what they do. They keep you alive, keep you fighting until there's nothing left of you. I close my eyes for a moment, wishing for peace, wishing for an end to the endless pain. But peace doesn't come. Not in this life. Not in the penal legions. So I keep crawling, keep moving because that's all I can do now. Keep moving until I'm nothing but a shadow on the battlefield. Until I fade into the mud, forgotten and lost just like the rest of us. I can feel the dirt and blood caked onto my body, sticky and thick as I crawl through the muck in the wreckage. Each movement feels like it's draining the last bit of life from me. My limbs are heavy, like they're made of stone rather than flesh, and every inch forward is a struggle. The weight of it is unbearable. But I know I can't stop. I can't afford to stop. I blink, trying to clear the blood from my eyes, but it doesn't matter. Everything is a blur, darkness closing in around me like a suffocating fog. The stench of death hangs in the air, the acrid scent of burning flesh and metal filling my lungs with every labored breath. Explosions still echo in the distance, distant rumblings of chaos. But they might as well be a lifetime away. Right here, right now, it's just me in this endless battlefield. The war is over for most. The ground is littered with the broken bodies of men, my comrades, those I fought beside, those I was meant to trust. They lie scattered like forgotten toys, some with their eyes open, others frozen in grotesque positions. And I'm still here, crawling through the remains of a war I had no business being a part of. My body is wrecked, my ribs cracked, my left arm a mangled mess, my face scorched with burns from the firestorms that tore through our lines. I should be dead, but I'm not. There's a kind of numbness in it all. The pain is like a dull throb in the background, a constant presence I've grown accustomed to. But it's not the pain that haunts me. It's the guilt. The feeling that somehow I deserve all of this. I deserve to be left behind. I deserve the suffering. It's a bitter pill to swallow, but it's true. I've done things that make this all feel like a natural consequence of my life. A life of theft, deceit, and betrayal. The Imperium may have branded me as expendable, but deep down, I know I'm the one who put myself here. It's my sins catching up with me. Every inch of ground I crawl over reminds me of the decisions that led me here. The desperate thefts to survive, the people I betrayed, my family, my friends. All of them gone now, lost because of the choices I made. I can't outrun those memories and I can't escape the consequences. Maybe I deserve this, I whisper to myself. The thought flickers through my mind like a poisonous ember. Maybe I deserve this death. Maybe this is the end I've earned. But then as I move, I hear it, the soft scrape of metal on metal. The click of a weapon, the scrape of armor shifting. It's not the battlefield noise. It's real. And for a moment, I wonder if I'm just hallucinating, the cruel trick of my mind playing on me. But then I see it. A dead soldier, one of the penal legionnaires, one I'd once fought beside. His face is locked in a grimace, his body twisted in an unnatural position, but in the distance I spot something. Something still alive. My pulse quickens. I push myself harder, my body screaming, my muscles begging for rest. But I can't rest. I can't stop. Not now. Not when I can see a way out. Not when I can feel that glimmer of hope, like a distant star in a sea of darkness. I crawl over to the figure, my arms trembling, my chest heaving with ragged breaths. He's not moving, but he's still breathing. Barely. I can hear the labored gasps, the shallow inhales that struggle to reach his lungs. I've never seen this soldier before, one of the few faces I didn't know, but it doesn't matter. He's one of us. One of the damned, cast aside by the Imperium. But he's still alive. And so am I. Help! The word slips out of my mouth like a prayer. I reach out with a bloodied hand, gripping his shoulder, shaking him. The movement sends fresh waves of pain crashing through me, but I fight it down. I need to help him. If I can pull him up, maybe we can make it. Maybe we can survive this. But he doesn't respond. I shake him again, this time more urgently. His eyes flutter open. There's nothing left behind them, no recognition, no life. Just a shell. His lips part, and for a moment I think he might speak, but all that comes out is a gurgled, wet cough. He doesn't make it. I watch as his body goes limp in my hands and I pull away, gasping for air. My mind is flooded with the realization of what I've just done. This man had been my comrade, and now, he's just another casualty of a war that neither cares for nor remembers us. The crushing weight of it hits me. There's no escape. No one is coming for us. Not the Imperium, not the Commissar, not anyone. We're all just left here to rot, discarded in the name of a war that never ends. We're tools. Tools that the Imperium uses and then throws away once they've outlived their usefulness. I stagger to my feet, my body screaming in protest. Every movement is agony, every step is a reminder of how close I am to the edge. I don't know how much longer I can keep going. I don't know how much longer I'll last in this unforgiving hellscape. But I keep moving. What else is there to do? The war is over for most, but not for me. Not for those of us who are still breathing. We are the remnants, the survivors of a world that has forgotten us, and we're forced to live in the wreckage of something that was never meant to be a victory. I look around, my eyes tracing the battlefield. There's nothing left here but death, and I'm walking in its shadow. I stumble, falling to my knees, my body betraying me once more. But even then I can't stop. I pull myself up again, gritting my teeth, forcing my body to keep going. I don't know why. Maybe it's because there's nothing left in me but the desire to survive. Maybe it's because I'm afraid of what comes after the end. Maybe it's because, somewhere deep down, there's a part of me that still wants redemption, even if I can't see how it's possible anymore. I crawl, inch by inch, through the mud, through the bodies, through the carnage of war. And I wonder, with every breath, if this is the moment I'll give in, the moment I'll stop fighting and finally surrender to the inevitable. But as the pain claws at me and the darkness presses in from all sides, I keep moving. Because in this world, in this cursed galaxy, survival is the only victory you'll ever get. And even that, I'm not sure I want. The wasteland stretches endlessly before me, a barren landscape of twisted wreckage and smoke-choked skies. My legs feel like they're made of lead, every step taking me deeper into the nothingness. My body is broken, and I don't know how much longer I can keep going. The pain is an ever-present companion, a cruel reminder of the war that never ends. But worse than the physical agony is the torment inside my mind. The noise in my head, the memories, the guilt, they're louder than the battle ever was. I try to push them down, but they won't let me. They're always there. I can't escape the past. The images flash before my eyes, unbidden, cruel. I see the faces of the people I've wronged, the family I betrayed, the comrades I abandoned. The thought of my mother's face, once full of warmth, now twisted in grief and betrayal, claws at me. The memory of her pleading with me to stop, to turn away from the life I was leading, haunts me. But I didn't listen. I couldn't. Not when the thrill of survival, the hunger for something more, was burning in my chest. The easy thefts, the quick deals, the betrayals, I thought I was clever. Thought I was smart. But in the end, I was just another fool, chasing a dream that turned into a nightmare. There are moments when the guilt is almost unbearable. A weight pressing down on my chest, crushing me, suffocating me. I betrayed everyone who ever trusted me. I ruined every chance I had at a real life. And now look at me, this is my fate. Left to die on some forsaken battlefield, a casualty of a war that has nothing to do with me. The memories swirl and I can't fight them. My mind is too tired, too broken to keep up the walls I've built around them. There are flashes of faces, of voices. The laughter of my siblings, the warmth of a fire crackling in the hearth back home. I was a boy once. I had dreams. But they all slipped away one by one as I chose the path I walked. The stolen goods, the lies, the schemes, it seemed so easy, so innocent at the time. But now all I hear are the screams of those I've wronged, the faces of the innocent the first stole from. I deserve this, don't I? This is what I've earned. But there's something else gnawing at me. Something deeper. A strange pull inside, a desperate flicker of hope. Is there still a way back? Can I redeem myself? Or is it too late for someone like me? My mind is so clouded, so muddled, I can't tell anymore. The question drifts in and out of my thoughts like smoke on the wind. Can a man like me ever be redeemed, or have I crossed a line that can never be undone? The voice inside me, the one that used to be full of pride and defiance, now seems small, almost drowned out by the relentless chorus of guilt. It tells me there's no point. The Imperium doesn't care about me. They don't care about any of us. We're nothing but pawns on a chessboard, moved and sacrificed at the will of those above us. No one remembers us. No one mourns us when we're gone. They just keep pushing forward, sending the next batch of broken men to die in the name of some cause that means nothing to us. I laugh bitterly, though it hurts to do so. They called us Penal Legionnaires. A joke, really? Because that's all we are. A punishment for the crimes of our past, shoved into the heart of a war that has no end. We fight not for honor, not for glory, but because it's the only thing left for us. We fight for survival, if you can call it that. The truth is they don't want us to survive. They send us into the most hopeless situations knowing we'll die. And yet here I am, still alive. Still fighting. Still surviving. Is this what I was meant for? To be a pawn, a tool of the Imperium, nothing more than a footnote in a galaxy filled with endless war? I stagger, my knees buckling beneath me. I can feel the darkness closing in on the edges of my vision, and for a moment I wonder if I should just give in. Let it take me. Maybe this is how it ends. Maybe this is what I deserve, just to die here, alone, forgotten. A footnote in the endless march of time. But something stops me. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the faint echo of something I once believed, something that feels like it belongs to another life, to a man I used to be. Maybe it's the spark of defiance buried deep within me that refuses to let go. Maybe it's just the survival instinct that refuses to quit no matter how much I want to. I'm not sure anymore. I stumble to my feet, pressing my back against the ruins of a building for support. My hands are shaking. My breath is ragged and I can feel the cold sweat on my skin. But I can't stop moving. I can't stop fighting. Not yet. Not when there's still a chance. But for what? What's the point of it all? The Imperium will never care for me. I'll never be a hero. I'll never be a saint. But maybe, just maybe, I can find a way to die with some semblance of meaning. A death that's not in vain. Maybe I can find redemption in the struggle itself. I'm drifting. I can feel it, the pull of darkness, the way the world seems to melt into nothingness around me. My vision is blurry, my head pounding, and every movement sends pain coursing through my body. I stumble forward, my legs shaking, barely holding me up. The weight of my body is unbearable, as though the very air itself is conspiring against me. The heat of the day and the cold of the night mix in the air like a deadly concoction, and my throat is dry, raw, parched. I don't know how long I've been out here. Could have been days. Could have been hours. Time loses its meaning when you're alone in a wasteland like this, a place where only the dead and the desperate remain. I don't even know why I keep moving. My mind is clouded, half drunken with delirium and pain. I'm nothing but a walking corpse, just waiting for the inevitable to happen. Maybe it's because there's nothing else to do. Maybe because the instinct to survive is so ingrained, it refuses to let go. And then I see it. A shadow, low and hunched, moving between the wreckage of a crashed transport. I freeze, the pit of my stomach churning. My body tenses, ready to react, but I'm too weak, too broken. The figure doesn't seem to notice me at first, rummaging through a pile of scraps. My first thought is that it's another scavenger, another soul trying to survive in the ruin. But there's something else there, something about the way they move. It doesn't look human, not at first. Too fast, too fluid. I take a cautious step forward, my breath shallow and ragged. It hears me and turns, a pair of eyes gleaming under the hood of a ragged cloak. For a moment, I wonder if I'm hallucinating, seeing things that aren't there. But no, the figure's still there, its presence undeniable. Who are you? I manage to rasp, my voice weak and cracked. The figure steps closer, the motion deliberate, cautious, like it's assessing me. Its face remains obscured by the shadow of the hood, but there's something in the way it stands, like it knows the wasteland and all its dangers. It doesn't flinch at my question. Instead, it pulls something from the pack slung over its back, a battered, dented water bottle. It's not much, but the sight of it makes my mouth water. Water, the figure says softly, almost as if speaking to itself. You need this more than I do. The first drop hits my tongue, cool and life-giving. Feels like a miracle. My parched throat burns, but the relief is immediate. I gulp greedily, barely caring where it's come from, too focused on the life it offers. Why help me? I finally manage to ask, my voice barely a whisper. I'm not used to this. No one helps the likes of us, Penal Legionnaires. We're expendable. Cast aside, left to rot when we're no longer useful. The figure doesn't answer immediately. It simply watches me, eyes flicking over the bloodstains on my tattered uniform, the wounds that cover me. Its face remains hidden, but I can feel the weight of its gaze. The silence stretches, thick and heavy, before the figure speaks again. You're not the first to be forgotten, it says, voice hoarse but steady, as though carrying a weight it's long been accustomed to. My brother was in the Penal Legion. Left for dead just like you. For a moment I can't respond. My mind races, trying to process what it's just said. It's hard to think straight through the fog of exhaustion and pain, but one thing is clear. This scavenger knows what I am. Knows who I am. Knows the damnable fate that awaits all of us. And yet, there's something in their voice, something in the way they speak of their brother, something human. He didn't make it, the scavenger continues almost matter-of-factly. The Imperium doesn't care. It never cared for us, just uses us until we're no longer needed. And then we're discarded. Forgotten. I feel a cold shiver crawl down my spine. My mind flashes back to the face of my commanding officer, the one who'd left me for dead. Not worth the ammunition. Those words echo in my head and I want to scream. Want to fight against it all, to rise above this fate that's been thrust upon me. But I don't. I just stay there, letting the cool water settle in my gut. The scavenger crouches beside me, its form still shadowed beneath the ragged hood. But you can be the last, they say, eyes gleaming faintly in the dark. If you survive, you can be the last to fall for their lies. The last to be forgotten. The words hang in the air, thick with unspoken meaning. A part of me wants to dismiss them as empty comfort, a last-ditch effort from someone who's probably been alone too long. But there's something in them. Something that resonates deep within me. Survive. The word flickers, weak and trembling, in the back of my mind. Survive. Is it possible? Can I really make it? And if I do, what then? What's the point of surviving in a world that has already written me off? A world where survival means nothing, where every day is another step closer to an early death. The scavenger's words rattle in my skull. Survive. Could I actually do it? Could I find a way to live in this unforgiving hell? Part of me, most of me, really wants to give up. The darkness is so close now. It's waiting, patient, just behind my eyes, offering a release from all this pain, from all this struggle. But then I think of what the scavenger said. About being the last. About not being forgotten. Why? I ask, my voice thick with disbelief. Why should I care? What's it all for? The scavenger looks down at me and for the first time, I see something like sympathy in those dark eyes. It's fleeting, but it's there. Because, they say quietly, you're still here. You're still breathing, still fighting. That means something. Even if the rest of the galaxy doesn't know it. The words feel like a slap to my face. They sting more than I care to admit, but they also burn with something else. Something that feels like hope. A tiny flicker, too small to hold on to, but there nonetheless. I look up at the wreckage around me, at the dead bodies scattered in the dirt, and for the first time in what feels like an eternity, I don't feel quite so alone. The scavenger's presence, their quiet understanding, makes the weight of my own guilt just a little bit lighter. And as we sit there, side by side in the wasteland, I know that whatever happens next, this moment, this encounter, has changed something inside me. I'm not alone. Not anymore. And maybe, just maybe, I'll survive. Not just for the Imperium, not for redemption, but for something else. For the chance to make it out of this hell alive. And that, just that, might be enough. The wasteland is a graveyard. A place where life has long since abandoned any hope of survival. Every step I take is another test, another trial that mocks the fragility of human life. The land here is scarred by countless battles, ruined by the very same war that's abandoned me, cast aside like a piece of trash. The air is thick, choking on the remnants of burned ozone and sulfur, and the sky, a dirty, unfeeling gray, seems to stretch on forever, offering no escape. There is no shelter, no safety. Only a harsh, unforgiving landscape where every corner hides a threat. As the scavenger and I move deeper into the wasteland, my body aches, a constant reminder of the trauma I've suffered. My wounds sting, my limbs feel like lead, but the desperation to survive forces me onward. The scavenger walks beside me, silent but ever watchful, their eyes scanning the horizon for any sign of danger. I can tell they've been here far longer than I have. This wasteland, this hell, is their home now. We pass through wreckage, burned out husks of vehicles, the skeletal remains of buildings that have long since been gutted and forgotten. There's no sign of life, at least none that I would want to encounter. The only sounds are the distant howls of the wind and the occasional crackling of dying fires. The scavenger doesn't speak much. They don't need to. Everything between us is unspoken, a bond forged in survival, forged in the knowledge that we both know the meaning of abandonment. You ever wonder if this is it? I ask them after a long stretch of silence, my voice rasping in my throat. If there's nothing more than this wasteland and the fight to keep breathing? The scavenger looks at me, their face still hidden under the hood, but I can sense their gaze, steady and unreadable. They don't answer right away, but when they do, their voice is low and tired, like they've said these words 1,000 times to themselves. Sometimes that's all it is, they reply. Just surviving until you don't. That's the way of this place. But it doesn't have to be just this. You don't have to be like them. You don't have to become like the rest of them. I know what they mean. They don't need to explain. This wasteland is full of bodies, full of ghosts, people who were once like me, once human, once part of something greater. But they've all been chewed up and spit out by this brutal world. All that's left is hunger, cruelty, and the will to survive no matter the cost. The land itself seems to demand that you become something less, something cold and devoid of all the things that made you human in the first place. We stopped by a dried-up creek, the water long gone, leaving behind cracked earth and a heavy, musty smell. The scavenger starts rooting around in the remains of a broken-down hovercraft, pulling out scraps, things they can use. I watch them work, their movements fluid and practiced. It's a dance of survival, finding what's useful, discarding what's not, knowing when to keep moving and when to rest. I can't help but envy that. The ease with which they move through this world, as though it no longer has the power to break them. I'm not like that. I still feel it, that crushing weight of every wrong I've done, every mistake, every sin that got me here. The guilt gnaws at me, a constant companion, but it's not the only thing I feel. Somewhere in the back of my mind, a spark remains. A desire to escape, to be free, to not just survive but to live, to find something beyond this wasteland of misery. Maybe it's a fool's hope. Maybe it's nothing more than a last gasp before the end. But as I watch the scavenger, I wonder if maybe there's more to this than I thought. Maybe survival isn't just about existing, about crawling from one miserable day to the next. Maybe it's about finding something in this world worth fighting for. The scavenger turns to me, holding up a half-broken energy cell they've scavenged from the wreckage. They meet my eyes for a long moment before speaking again. You know, they say, voice a little softer now, there's more to this place than just survival. There are places, people, sometimes even in a hell like this, you can find something worth fighting for. I scoff, shaking my head, though I know they're right. There's something in the way they speak, in the way they've survived all these years. It's a resolve I don't understand, not yet. But I want to. I need to understand it, because if I don't, I know I'll fade away with the rest of them. We spend the next few days together, moving through the desolate landscape, scavenging what we can, taking cover when necessary. The scavenger shares little pieces of their knowledge with me. How to read the land, how to spot danger before it arrives, how to scavenge for food, how to make a fire with almost nothing. Simple things, but in this wasteland they could mean the difference between life and death. And little by little, I start to change. I begin to see the world differently, not as a place that has abandoned me, but as a world I can survive in. Every day is a struggle, and it feels like there's no end in sight, but with each passing day I grow stronger, physically, mentally, spiritually. The guilt still gnaws at me, but it becomes background noise, something I can silence with the knowledge that I'm still breathing, still moving. I still don't know if I'll ever be free. I still don't know if redemption is possible. But the more I spend time with the scavenger, the more I realize that survival, true survival, isn't just about enduring. It's about finding something inside yourself that makes it all worth it. The wasteland doesn't care. It doesn't care about the past, about your sins, about your mistakes. It doesn't care if you're a criminal, a survivor, a saint, or a sinner. It just demands that you keep moving, keep breathing, keep fighting. But maybe, just maybe, there's something worth fighting for after all. Maybe there's something beyond this wasteland of death, something worth surviving for. And for the first time in what feels like forever, I think I might just find it. The wasteland around me feels more oppressive now, each step heavier than the last. The air is thick with dust, and the ground beneath my boots crunches with every movement. The scavenger's footsteps are quiet beside me, yet there's an unease that I can't shake, a sense that something is wrong, that the world around us has become even more dangerous than before. The silence is suffocating, as if the very planet is holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. Suddenly, I hear it, a low hum in the distance, the unmistakable sound of engines, deep and rumbling, vibrating through the air. My heart skips a beat. The scavenger stops dead in their tracks, and I feel their eyes flicker toward the horizon, where the dim silhouette of a transport craft is barely visible, moving slowly and deliberately in our direction. It's unmistakable now, we're being hunted. The scavenger mutters something under their breath, words I can't catch, but I can tell by the tension in their posture that they recognize the threat as much as I do. The hum grows louder, more pronounced, and then the unmistakable clank of boots on metal echoes across the wasteland. Space Marines. I try to swallow the lump forming in my throat, but it's no use. I've heard the stories. The fear that ripples through the ranks of the Imperial Guard when the words Space Marines are spoken. These aren't just soldiers. They're the Emperor's finest warriors, larger than life, genetically enhanced, armored in near-indestructible power armor. They're the hammer sent to crush anything they deem a threat to the Imperium, no matter how small, no matter how insignificant. And here I am, a forsaken soul, discarded by the Imperium itself, facing the very embodiment of that power. "We need to move," the scavenger hisses, pulling me from my thoughts. Their voice is low, urgent, but I can see the fear in their eyes, and it's not a fear that comes from the unknown. They've been here before. They know what it's like to face these relentless, godlike warriors. I nod, but we both know there's nowhere to run. Not really. The terrain around us is open, exposed, and the craft is coming closer, its engines now deafening as it lands with a heavy thud just 100 meters away. We're trapped. They emerge like shadows in the desert sun, hulking figures in cerulean power armor, their faces hidden behind unyielding helmets, weapons raised and ready. The scavenger's warning is too late. It's already happening. The squad of Space Marines strides toward us with the kind of predatory purpose that leaves no room for negotiation. The ground shakes with each step they take, and my heart pounds in my chest. I try to stand tall, but my legs feel weak, my body still torn apart by wounds that refuse to heal. Yet I can't let them see my fear. They're not here to capture us. No, they're here to eliminate us. They've been sent to purge the aftermath of the failed battle, to wipe away any trace of the broken forces left behind. That means us. One of them steps forward, towering over me. His voice comes out like a growl, mechanical and devoid of emotion. "You are the remains of the Imperial meat grinder," he says almost casually, as though this is just another day in the endless war. "You were discarded for a reason." The words cut deep, the truth of them sinking into the pit of my stomach. We're nothing. Nothing but refuse to be swept aside. Disposable. But I don't say anything. The scavenger stands beside me, their face grim but their posture unchanged. They've seen this before. The Space Marine in front of us doesn't waste time with pleasantries. His bolt gun hums with an unnatural power, a mechanical hiss that sends a jolt of terror through me. The others flank him, weapons at the ready. They're circling us, predators sizing up their prey. And then, an order. A single command. Cleanse them. I barely have time to react before I'm diving for cover. The scavenger follows suit, rolling behind a broken piece of wreckage as the first shot rings out, a deafening roar from the bolt gun that makes the earth itself tremble. I feel the shockwave hit me even from behind cover, the explosive force enough to rip a man apart. I'm no warrior. I've never been anything more than a thief, a criminal. But this isn't about pride or glory. This is about survival. This is about one more chance to escape the hell that is my life. "Stay low," the scavenger yells, voice strained but steady. Their eyes meet mine, and for a moment, it feels like there's something more than just survival in those eyes. It's a recognition. We're in this together whether we like it or not. The Space Marines begin to move toward us, their boots sending tremors through the wreckage. They're closing in, methodical, calculating. Each movement precise like clockwork. We don't stand a chance in a fight against them. But then again, we never did. I grip my lasgun, knuckles white, and I feel the familiar sense of desperation filling my chest. I know the odds. I know the outcome. But something primal stirs inside me. The desire to live, to fight for something, anything beyond the emptiness that's been my life for so long. Without thinking, I raise my weapon, a clumsy, trembling shot at the closest Space Marine. It's a pathetic attempt, born out of panic rather than skill, but to my shock, the shot lands, hitting the Marine's chest. He doesn't even flinch. His armor absorbs the blast, leaving him untouched. The others don't even acknowledge the shot. I fire again, this time more frantically, knowing it's pointless. But I can't stop. My finger just keeps squeezing the trigger over and over. My hands are slick with sweat, my breath ragged in my throat. It's hopeless. Then something strange happens. One of the Space Marines, the one leading the charge, looks at me. He pauses just for a second. I'm not sure if he's surprised or amused, but in that moment, I feel something like recognition in his eyes. He knows I'm no soldier. I know he knows. But that doesn't matter. In his eyes, I'm nothing more than a filthy animal, nothing but an obstacle. And that's enough for him to treat me as prey. But something inside me snaps. I've been discarded. Left to die. But I won't die like this. Not like some pathetic thing begging for mercy. My survival instincts kick in. The will to live takes over, and I know in that moment that I will do anything to stay alive, even if it means fighting against something I can't hope to defeat. The Space Marine steps closer, raising his bolt gun to finish the job. I don't think. I just act. I throw myself at him, using the last of my strength to close the gap between us, hoping to get close enough to do something, anything. In that moment of blind desperation, the weight of my lasgun feels insignificant. It's a pathetic weapon. Instead, I aim for his legs, his joints, anywhere I can land a hit. I'm not skilled, hell I'm not even trained. But my rage, my fear pushes me. My fist connects with his knee joint, and I feel a shockwave of pain shoot up my arm. The Space Marine grunts, staggered by the impact. It's not enough to stop him. But it's enough to give me a glimpse of something. Maybe not hope, but the strength to keep fighting even if it's just for a few seconds more. The scavenger is moving too, their knife flashing in the air, slicing through the space between us and the nearest Marine. It's futile, but it's all we have. We fight. For the briefest of moments, I feel alive. The weight of survival presses down on me harder than any lasgun or shuriken could ever manage. The clang of the Space Marine's departure still echoes in my ears. Those towering warriors of the Emperor's will, sent to erase me as if I was nothing more than an insect in their path. They left, but the silence they left behind is louder than their bolters ever were. But what am I left with? What is it that I'm clinging to, surviving for? I drag myself through the ashes and debris of that battlefield, and as the blood dries on my skin, I can feel it seeping into my soul. They said I'd be dead within hours. Most would have been. Most are. But I'm not. Not yet. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just the stubborn will to keep breathing, the desperate refusal to let them take even that from me. But as I stumble through the wreckage of my past, a place littered with the bodies of people who once had lives, once had meaning, I wonder if it was worth it. Every breath I draw only feels heavier, and I can't shake the growing thought that I'm just delaying the inevitable. The thoughts come without warning. They whisper, quiet at first, but then louder, louder as I continue to stumble forward, through wreckage, through death, through my own self-loathing. My past, my crimes, the things that brought me to this place, it feels like it was just yesterday. I remember the face of that woman, the one I betrayed for a handful of coins. She trusted me and I broke that trust. I remember the look in her eyes as I took from her, as I left her behind to suffer the consequences of my actions. That's who I am, right? A thief, a traitor, someone who couldn't see beyond his own greed, his own selfishness. What else would they want me to be? I was nothing before I was sent here. I'm still nothing. It's not just her though. It's the voices of every face I've left behind, every life I've taken, every moment where I've made a choice that cost someone else their future. The Imperium may have wanted me to die in their wars, but maybe they were right. Maybe I deserve this. My chest aches as I drag my broken body further through the barren land. The agony in my leg, the blood dripping from my side, it's nothing compared to what's inside me. The guilt, the memories, the way I sold myself to survive, sold everything that mattered. I wanted to believe I could survive this. I thought the key was the fight. That if I could just hold on long enough, if I could prove I could survive, then maybe something would change. Maybe I could atone. But now the question has shifted. What's the point of surviving if I lose what little humanity I have left? What if, in this brutal world, in this galaxy that consumes everything in its path, I'm not meant to be anything more than another animal driven by basic primal urges? I don't know if I have the strength to fight that much longer. Every step is a battle. Every breath feels like a fight for control, a fight against the madness that's creeping in. The madness of knowing that I've been abandoned, that the people who put me here, the ones who sent me to die in the penal legions, don't care. They never did. The Emperor, they say. His justice is final. But all I can see is a system built to grind men like me down until we're nothing but dust. But I've been left alone to wonder, what does survival even mean? What does it matter if you're the last one standing when everything that made you who you were is stripped away? Am I even alive anymore? Or am I just walking through this nightmare, a hollow shell? There's something in me, maybe it's instinct, telling me to keep going. Keep moving. Don't stop. But every time I take another step, I feel like I'm losing myself just a little more. It's as if every breath is pulling me further from the person I was, the person I could have been. If I could just stop for a moment, just rest, maybe I could think. Maybe I could understand if this was really worth it. But I can't stop. I don't know if I can. It's the voices again. They're louder now, crawling through the cracks in my mind. They sound like the people I've killed. The people I've betrayed. I hear their voices accusing me, reminding me of everything I've ever done wrong. You can't escape it, Lucius, they say, their whispers clawing at my mind. You'll never be free. You're nothing but a monster. A criminal. A weapon for their wars. I try to shut them out, but the more I stumble through this wasteland, the more the voices grow. It's as if they're getting closer. I know they're not real. I know they're just memories. But every part of me wants to believe that I can silence them. That maybe if I just survive long enough, I can make them stop. I can atone for what I've done. But the truth is, I don't know if I deserve redemption. Maybe I never did. Maybe all of us who were sent to the penal legions, all of us who were taken from our homes and cast into the fires of this war, are nothing more than tools. Tools for the Imperium. Disposable, expendable. We weren't meant to survive. And I'm starting to believe that maybe we're not supposed to. Maybe it's better to let go and let the madness take me. I'll be just one more soldier who died for a cause that had no meaning. But that's not who I am. Not yet. Even with the voices in my head, even with the guilt in my heart, there's still a part of me that fights. Because no matter what I've become, no matter what I've done, I won't let this universe take me without a fight. So I keep going. One step at a time. Because that's all I can do. One step, one breath, one moment at a time. But what will be left of me when I finally reach the end? The wind howls across the barren wasteland, a sound that seems to scrape the very marrow of my bones. I can barely feel it anymore, the wind, the cold, the pain in my body. It all blurs together into something almost abstract. The reality of my situation, the suffocating weight of the universe pressing in from all sides, is too much. My mind is a jumble of guilt, despair, and fragments of memories I wish I could forget. But then, amid the chaos of my mind, I hear something, a faint whisper cutting through the storm. It's distant, static-filled, but unmistakable. A transmission. At first, I think it's my mind playing tricks on me. After all, it's been days, weeks maybe, since I last heard a voice that wasn't my own, since the betrayal of the Penal Legion, since I was left behind to rot in the ashes of the battlefield. I hadn't thought there were any of us left. I hadn't thought there was any hope. But this sound, it's real. I stagger to my feet, my legs screaming in protest, the old wounds fresh again as if they never healed. I drag myself forward, searching for the source of the signal. The static grows louder, clearer, until it cuts through like a shard of glass in my mind. The words are unmistakable now, cutting through the fog of war and my own self-doubt. Lucius Dragon. This is Commander Val Thor of the Imperial Navy. We've located your position. You are ordered to report back to your commanding officer. Redemption awaits you if you return to the Emperor's fold. Redemption. The word echoes in my mind. What could redemption mean for me, a convict with a past stained by betrayal and murder? Is there any way to cleanse a soul like mine? The voices in my head, my past sins, the blood on my hands, whisper in disbelief. What could they want with me now? I'm nothing. But there it is, a distant lifeline, a thread through the storm. A chance to be more than the monster I've become. Maybe, just maybe, I can redeem myself. Maybe I can find some shred of humanity left in this shattered world. But then the question hits me. The harsh, cruel question that burns like acid in my gut. Should I go back? Can I return to the Imperium, the very system that cast me aside in the first place? Can I trust them? The same system that condemned me to this hell of endless wars, this pit where men like me are discarded as easily as tools once they're spent? I have to stop. I'm barely holding it together. The weight of survival, of regret, presses down so heavily that I can hardly breathe. I've been nothing but a tool in this endless cycle of destruction. Yet now, after everything, they offer me a chance to redeem myself. How can I even begin to accept that? Can I live with the hypocrisy? Redemption. It's like a spark in the dark. The faintest glimmer of light in this unrelenting void. But what is redemption within the Imperium? What does it mean to them? I know what they want. They want soldiers. They want tools. And that's all I'll ever be to them. A body to be used, a hand to hold a weapon. That's what the Penal Legion is for. That's what we are for, until we die. To fight, to kill, and to never be more than a statistic on some parchment far from the battlefield. To be tossed aside, forgotten, when we're of no use anymore. But I can't help it. The thought of it, the idea of redemption, pulls at something inside me. The idea of being more than just the sum of my mistakes, more than just another pawn in their endless game, claws at whatever shreds of dignity I have left. The thought of returning to them sickens me, yet I can't deny it. It's like a cruel temptation. As I stagger toward the transmission, struggling to make sense of the words in my mind, I realize that the choice before me is not so simple. The voice on the other end of that transmission doesn't know me, doesn't know what I've done, doesn't know the depths of the darkness I've sunk into. They speak of redemption as though it's a simple path, a road that can be walked with a simple turn. But nothing in this universe is simple. In my heart, I know the truth. I know what the Imperium is. I know that I'm not wanted, not truly. We are not heroes to them. We are not men. We are not even soldiers. We are tools, expendable and ultimately forgotten. And yet, I still can't shake the thought. The temptation, the lure, of returning. If I do this, if I turn myself in, what will it mean? Will they forgive me? Or will they simply find a new use for me? Another assignment, another mission, another battlefield where I'm bound to die and be discarded again. Is that redemption? Or is it just another lie? The wind howls again and I realize I've been standing still for far too long. I turn the dial of the receiver, the voice crackling again in my ears. Lucius, we're waiting. You're being offered a chance at redemption. Report to your commanding officer. Do not let this opportunity slip away. The words seem to mock me now. The chance to return. A chance at redemption. But the more I think about it, the more I wonder. What is redemption in a universe like this? Can I truly find peace? Can I be anything more than the broken man I've become? Or is this just the Emperor's way of testing me, tempting me to believe in something that doesn't exist? My mind is a battlefield again. The voices are louder now, rising in volume and fury. They accuse me, they condemn me. They remind me of everything I've done, of everyone I've wronged. How can I stand before the Emperor's judgment and expect absolution when all I've known is violence, betrayal, and survival? I don't know if I can live with the consequences of going back. I don't know if I can survive the truth of what I've become. And yet, there's that voice, distant yet persistent, calling me to return, calling me to serve again. I stand there, frozen as the transmission continues, but the world around me blurs. I don't know if I'm ready for what's waiting or if I'll ever be. I don't know if I'll ever truly be free of the chains that bind me, the sins that haunt me. But as I look out over the desolate wasteland, at the emptiness stretching before me, I realize something. Maybe, just maybe, this is the test. Not from the Imperium, not from the Emperor, but from myself. Maybe redemption isn't something they offer. Maybe it's something you find on your own. Maybe the true question isn't whether I deserve redemption. Maybe it's whether I can find it within myself. But, as the last remnants of the transmission die off into static, I hear something deeper inside me. A voice that isn't the past, that isn't the sins I've committed, but the echo of something new, something distant yet there. And I begin to move again. Not toward the Imperium. Not for their redemption. But for my own. One step at a time. I stand there, caught between the echoes of my own doubts and the faintest thread of redemption that still flickers in my mind. The transmission from the Imperium is still fresh in my thoughts. Like a call to something greater, something beyond the dirt and grime I've been reduced to. But the harsh reality of this wasteland surrounds me, the stench of decay heavy in the air, and for the first time in what feels like forever, I feel something like clarity. But before I can take another step, before I can make any decision about what comes next, the ground beneath my feet trembles. It's subtle at first, just a vibration, but then it builds, a deep rumbling that shakes the earth itself. I feel the hairs on the back of my neck rise. The wind shifts, carrying with it the scent of something alien. Something wrong. I turn towards the horizon. The sun is barely a speck behind the blackened clouds, but through the haze I see them. The shape of something dark, massive, descending from the sky. It's like a shadow, twisting and thrashing as it gets closer, and I can feel it, deep in my gut. This is not the kind of thing you can survive by hiding from. This is something else. The scavenger, who had been silently watching me, turns towards me. His face is pale, eyes wide with something I don't recognize. Panic? Fear? No, it's something else. We need to move, Lucius, he says in a hoarse whisper, his hand already reaching for the weapon slung over his shoulder. He looks up at the sky, then back at me. The Xenos have come. The words land like a hammer strike in my chest. Xenos? I've heard of them, of course. Monsters from beyond the stars, creatures that tear through civilizations like a plague. But until now, they had been nothing more than stories, whispers around the campfire, horrors whispered about in the dark corners of the battlefield. But now they are real. They are here. I swallow hard, my mind racing. For a moment, I almost forget about the Imperium's offer, the fleeting chance at redemption. The voice of duty fades away. All that matters now is survival. These creatures, these Xenos, are coming, and they won't care who I was, what I did, or whether I'm worth saving. They'll tear through everything, and if I'm not careful, I'll end up just like the rest of them, the next corpse left in the mud, forgotten. What are they? I ask, my voice barely more than a rasp. The scavenger doesn't answer right away. Instead, he looks back at the incoming threat, his face twisted in a grimace. Tyranids, he says finally, the word tasting bitter on his tongue. Hive-minded monsters. There's no reasoning with them, no way to stop them. They will consume everything. Everyone. I can't help the shudder that runs through me. Tyranids, swarming, ravenous beasts, creatures that consume entire worlds to feed the endless hunger of their hive. Their arrival on this desolate planet can only mean one thing: death. Death for me. Death for the scavenger. Death for anyone who's foolish enough to stick around. We need to go. Now. The scavenger's voice is sharp, urgent. If we run, maybe we can make it to the underground caves. There's a chance. But the words die in his throat, swallowed by the roar of something far worse. The ground shakes again, harder this time, and I feel it in my bones, the deep, gnawing fear that follows. The skies darken as something massive breaks through the clouds. It's too big to be just one ship, too vast, too monstrous. I watch, helpless, as the Tyranid ship, slams into the ground, sending up a spray of debris and dust that coats the sky like an eternal storm. The sound is deafening, like the roar of a dying god. The earth cracks, splitting open, as though the planet itself is being devoured from within. I can hear it now, the screeching, the clicking, the sound of thousands upon thousands of creatures clamoring to break free of their prison, to consume. I look at the scavenger, but there's nothing to say. He's right. We need to run. But where? Where do we go? There's nowhere safe on this cursed rock. The only thing I have left is survival. I turn my eyes to the wasteland around me, streets full of debris, corpses of men who were once soldiers, now forgotten by all. The grim reality of this world crashes into me like a wave. And then, as if the weight of it all isn't enough, that damn voice from the Imperium cracks through the static again, louder this time, clearer. Lucius Dragon, this is Commander Valthor. You are to report back immediately. Redemption is within your grasp. The Emperor calls you home. Do not let this opportunity slip away. I feel my heart pound in my chest. The voice of the Imperium calling me home, offering me a second chance. Redemption. A chance to leave this wasteland behind, to return to something greater, something higher than myself. But there is no time for this. I know it in the pit of my stomach. The Xenos are here. The Tyranids are here, and they aren't here to bargain. They're here to annihilate, defeat, to wipe everything off the face of this forsaken planet. And I'm caught in the middle, torn between two forces, two futures. The scavenger pulls me toward the jagged remnants of a nearby building, seeking shelter, but I can't tear my eyes away from the descent of the Tyranid forces. The massive hulking creatures begin to pour from the ship like a flood, swarming over each other as they rush towards the surface, seeking the warmth of flesh and blood. I feel the pull of the Imperium's call again, distant, almost mocking now. But the thought of it, the thought of walking away from this madness and turning myself back to the hands of those who betrayed me, feels so far out of reach. The question lingers like a bitter taste in my mouth. Is survival enough? Is survival what the Emperor wants, or is this simply the death I was meant for? I close my eyes, taking a deep breath. The sound of the Tyranid's roar gets louder, closer, and I know there's no more time for hesitation. There's no more time to think of redemption or duty. The war has come to my doorstep, and in that instant I realize something. It doesn't matter if I fight for the Imperium. It doesn't matter if I fight for redemption. What matters is this: I am here. I am alive. And that means I have a chance. A chance to make it out of this hell. A chance to survive. I force myself to move. The scavenger and I run, the sound of the Tyranid swarm growing louder with every step. I feel the weight of my past, the sins, the mistakes, the guilt, all of it pressing on me, but I push it down. I don't know where I'm going, don't know how this is going to end. But I know one thing: this moment is mine. This is my fight. Not for the Emperor. Not for redemption. Not for anything but the fight to live. We crash through the shattered remnants of an old building, the walls crumbling around us, dust choking the air. The ground trembles with every movement of the Tyranid horde, and I feel the urgency in my every breath. Survival. That's all there is. Survival and the will to endure. The scavenger is ahead of me now, leading the way through the ruined streets, but my thoughts are a blur, a cacophony of noise, of voices, of choices, of regrets. The enemy is here, but in some twisted way they give me a focus. A purpose. I can't let the Imperium's call cloud my judgment anymore. I can't afford to think of past wrongs or hopes for redemption. The Xenos have come to claim this world. And if I'm going to make it out alive, I'm going to need to become something even worse than a convict, something even darker. I'm going to need to become the thing the Tyranids fear. Survival. It's all I have left. And I'll fight for it no matter the cost. The world around me moves in a blur of dust and violence as we keep running, the sounds of the Tyranid horde growing ever closer. My breath is ragged, heart pounding in my chest, and the only thing that matters now is putting one foot in front of the other. The scavenger, my unlikely ally, leads the way through the wreckage, moving with an eerie certainty, his form a blur against the crumbling backdrop of a civilization long forgotten. But there's something off about him. Something I've been too distracted to notice until now. His movements are precise, calculated, even too smooth for a simple survivor scraping by in the ruins of the Imperium. He doesn't flinch when debris rains down from collapsing buildings or when we barely avoid a tyrannid's screeching claws that swipe mere inches from our faces. There's a strange calm to him, a knowledge of what's coming that doesn't quite sit right with me. I watch his back for a moment as he hurls himself over a broken wall, and something clicks in my mind. A feeling, something I've missed, something buried beneath the grime of the last few days. "Hey," I call, my voice hoarse, dragging myself through the ruins in his wake. "Who are you really?" He doesn't turn around immediately, his pace unwavering. Then, without breaking stride, he answers in a low, almost detached tone, "You know who I am, Lucius. I'm like you." At first, I don't get it. His words don't sink in properly. But then they hit me like a cold slap to the face. "Like me?" I repeat, my voice a little louder, a little harsher, as if the question will somehow force an answer out of him. "Yeah," he says, finally turning to meet my eyes. His gaze is steady, unflinching, and there's something heavy behind it, something old and buried that's finally clawing its way to the surface. "I was once an officer, a captain in the Imperial Guard, before they left me to die." The words settle like a weight on my chest, suffocating and heavy. The scavenger, a man I thought of as little more than another desperate survivor, was once a high-ranking officer in the Imperial Guard? Left to die? It doesn't make sense. How could someone like him end up here, in the same hell I've been crawling through, scavenging for scraps and avoiding death like any other rat in this forsaken place? How? The word slips out before I can stop it. Why? He looks away, and for a brief moment I think he might not answer. But then he speaks again, his voice softer, almost as if the weight of the confession is too much to bear. "The Imperium doesn't care, Lucius. It never has. Not really. We're just numbers. Disposable. You think the penal legions are bad? Those of us who fight for the Emperor, we're no better. They send us out to die in the name of the Imperium, and when we fall, they don't even bother to remember our names. They leave us to rot." I'm quiet for a long moment, digesting his words, trying to fit them into the shattered pieces of my reality. The Imperium, the same Imperium that claimed to represent justice, that claimed to protect humanity, had turned its back on both of us. To them, we were nothing more than pawns, to be discarded when we were no longer useful. "I was on a mission," he continues, his voice hardening now, like he's bracing himself to say something painful. "We were deep in Xenos territory, one of those Black Ops missions that no one talks about. I led a squad. We were supposed to secure a base, take out a high-value target. But we got betrayed. Our intel was wrong. It was a trap and we got surrounded. My entire squad was wiped out and I was left for dead, the only one still breathing." His eyes harden as he looks out over the desolate landscape, his voice gaining strength as he recounts the past. "They said I failed. That I didn't do my duty. They said I was a liability. They left me there, Lucius, stranded, broken, and alone. No one came for me. Not the Emperor, not the Imperium. I crawled through the mud for days just like you. I survived. But it wasn't redemption. It wasn't glory. It was survival. And when I finally made it back, they didn't care. I was nothing but a traitor, a failure in their eyes." A strange silence falls over us as we move through the ruins, the truth of his words hanging in the air like a thick fog. I can feel the weight of the revelation settling in my chest. The scavenger, this man who had once stood in the Emperor's light, had been cast aside in much the same way I had. A pawn. A number. And for what? To die on a battlefield where his worth was nothing more than the briefest of calculations. My mind reels as I process it all. The sense of betrayal. The knowledge that the Imperium doesn't care. That our struggles, our lives, mean nothing in the grand scheme of things. It's a bitter truth. And as the weight of it sinks in, I realize something else. He's not just a survivor. He's a reflection of what we've both become. We are the forgotten. The discarded. Left behind by the same system that claims to protect humanity. How do you keep going? I ask the question barely more than a rasp. I don't expect an answer, but I need to hear it. I need to know how someone can survive this kind of betrayal and keep fighting. The scavenger pauses for a moment, the question hanging between us like a weight. He looks at me with an unreadable expression, as though searching for the right words to answer. "I survive because that's all I know," he finally says, his voice quiet but firm. "I survive because I have nothing else. The Imperium doesn't care about me, Lucius. They never did. But I'll be damned if I die on my knees just like they want. I'll survive because it's the one thing they can't take from me. Not my life, not my soul. They left me to die, but I'm still here. And that's the only thing that matters now. I look at him, a man once bound by duty and honor, now reduced to a shadow of what he once was. And I realize that we are both the same. We both have nothing left but survival. Nothing left but the will to fight, even if it means fighting against the very system that created us. A sudden screeching sound cuts through the air, dragging me back to reality. We're not alone. The Tyrannid swarm is closing in, and there's no more time to think, no more time for regrets. The scavenger's story, his past, it all fades away as the primal urge to survive takes over. We keep moving, he says, his voice steady now, his face a mask of determination. Survival's all we have left. That's the only thing that matters. And with that, we continue our flight through the wreckage, the weight of his words sinking deeper into my bones. The truth is clear now. Redemption isn't something you get from the Imperium. It's something you take for yourself. And if survival is the only thing left, then damn it, I'll fight for that. The ground trembles beneath my feet, shaking with the ferocity of the Tyrannid assault. The sky above is a sickly shade of red, lit by the flashes of distant explosions. It feels like the end of the world, a storm of destruction closing in from all sides. But even in the face of annihilation, I find myself standing tall, forced to fight. For what though? For survival? For redemption? Or perhaps simply to prove that I'm more than the sum of my past sins? The scavenger stands beside me, his face grim but resolute. I can see the same determination in his eyes that I feel in my gut, an unyielding need to push back against the oncoming tide, even if it means our deaths. The Tyrannids are a flood, their monstrous forms crawling over the battlefield, tearing apart everything in their path. They're relentless, mindless, a wave of destruction that doesn't care about what's in its way. But we don't have the luxury of retreat. The wreckage we've been hiding in is no longer an option. It's been overrun. We've run out of time. If we want to survive, if we want to make it out of here alive, we have to face them head on. Ready? The scavenger's voice breaks through my thoughts, his words a grim reality. I nod, my hands gripping the lost gun with a strange intensity. The weight of it, the pressure in my chest, it feels different now. Not just survival. Not just a means to an end. There's something else beneath it. Something I hadn't expected to find. Ready? I answer, my voice tight with both fear and resolve. The first wave of Tyrannids comes crashing through the smoke and dust, their screeches filling the air. They're massive, towering creatures with mandibles that could tear through armor like paper, claws that could slice through bone with ease. And they come, charging, snarling, without a shred of hesitation. They see us, just another obstacle to crush underfoot. But what they don't see is the fire that ignites inside me. I fire first, the lost gun kicking in my hands as the beam cuts through the air, striking one of the Xenos in the chest. It screeches, faltering for a second before charging forward again, its thick carapace absorbing the next few shots. I know we're not going to kill them all. There are too many. But I'll be damned if I die like a dog hiding in the dirt, begging for mercy that'll never come. I move with the scavenger, side by side, a single unit fighting against the overwhelming odds. I've fought before, yes, but this feels different. This is no longer about fighting for the Imperium, about being a cog in their war machine. This fight is for me. This is about me choosing to survive, about proving to myself that I still have something left worth living for. Whether it's redemption or simply the will to go on, it doesn't matter. I fight because it's the only thing left I can control. The scavenger's movements are quick and precise, his weapon cutting through the horde with ruthless efficiency. He's been through this before. His experience shows in the way he moves, in the way he stays calm under pressure. I'm not sure if he's resigned to his fate like me, or if he's holding on to something else. Maybe he's just as broken as I am. But whatever it is, we fight as one, both of us driven by the same need. To survive, to make it out of here, even if it costs everything. As the battle rages on, I feel the weight of the fight bearing down on me. The battle is brutal. I can hear the screeches of the Tyrannids, the sounds of their claws scraping across metal, the thud of their massive bodies crashing into the ground. But I can also hear the sound of my own heartbeat, steady and strong, the pulse of life fighting against the chaos around me. My lost gun clicks empty and I curse under my breath, throwing it aside. I draw my knife, the cold steel in my hand a reminder that I am not dead yet. We are surrounded now, the horde closing in from all sides. There's no way out. There's no more time. I know the end is near. It's not a question of if but when. The scavenger looks at me and for the first time, there's a look in his eyes, something I've never seen before. It's not fear. It's not desperation. It's a strange peace as if he's accepted what's coming. I meet his gaze and in that brief moment, I know we understand each other. We are not heroes. We are not soldiers fighting for glory. We are simply two men, two lost souls, trying to make something of this hell we've been cast into. But as the first wave of Tyranids crashes into us, I realize something. I realize that I am fighting for more than just survival. I am fighting to go out on my own terms. To die in a way that matters. To die with my dignity intact, not as a convict, not as a pawn in the Emperor's endless war, but as a man who fought to the end. The battle becomes a blur of blood, screams, and violence. I fight with everything I have left, striking with my knife, my hands, whatever I can use to push back the tide. The scavenger is beside me, fighting just as fiercely, just as determined. We don't speak. There's no need. The only thing that matters is the next breath, the next strike, the next step. But as the Tyranids overwhelm us, I know that we've reached the point of no return. I've fought as hard as I can. And in that moment, as I feel the claws of a massive Tyranid sink into my flesh, I understand something. This is not a final act of despair. This is not the end of the road. This is my choice. My redemption, even if I'm never remembered by anyone but myself. I've given everything for this moment. And that's all I can ask for. The last thing I hear before the darkness takes me is the roar of the Tyranid beast, echoing in the depths of my mind. It's not the end, I tell myself. It's just another chapter. One that I have written with my blood. The light fades. The world around me is still a blur, flashes of light and the oppressive stench of blood and burning flesh filling the air. My body aches with every breath, every movement a sharp reminder of the battle I fought. I am alive. But am I truly victorious? Or am I merely the last man standing in a field of corpses, clinging to life because I didn't have the strength to let go? I stagger to my feet, my legs trembling beneath me, barely holding my weight. The Tyranid bodies are scattered across the ground, some still twitching, others lying lifeless in heaps. The scavenger, who had fought beside me until the very end, lies motionless not far from me. His face is serene in death, as if he had found peace in the violence, in the chaos of the battle. I envy him. The thought crosses my mind, maybe death would have been easier. Maybe it would have been a final release from the cycle of violence and pain I've been stuck in. But I didn't die. I survived. I'm still here. My hands shake as I look at the blood on them, the blood of those creatures and the blood of men like me, forgotten by the Imperium, tossed into the meat grinder with no care for what we were before, only what we could become. I look around, surveying the aftermath of the fight. The ground is littered with bodies, most of them mine to begin with, thrown into the war as cannon fodder. And now I stand among them, breathing, alive. But what does it really mean? I think about everything I've gone through, the betrayal, the suffering, the constant struggle to survive. I fought not for the Imperium, not for the Emperor. I fought for myself. To prove to myself that I still had worth, that I could be more than the sum of my sins. But what have I really achieved? What is the cost of this survival? I hear footsteps approaching, the sound of boots on the ruined ground. Imperial forces, soldiers, perhaps even a few familiar faces from the battlefield. But none of them will see me for who I am. I'm just another casualty, another survivor of a doomed fight. Just another soldier in the Emperor's endless war. The familiar sight of the Imperial banner waves in the distance, soldiers appearing from the smoke and fire. They've come to mop up what's left of the battle, to clean up the mess. I don't know whether to feel relief or dread. Will they congratulate me for my survival? Or will they see me as I've always been, nothing more than a criminal, a pawn in their game? A figure approaches me, a senior officer, his face hidden behind the mask of bureaucracy and war. His eyes don't hold any recognition of me. They don't see the man who fought for something more than survival. They only see the soldier in front of them. A tool. A resource to be used. Lucius Dragon, Penal Legionnaire, the officer says, his voice flat. The words don't sound like a greeting or an accusation. They're simply a statement. A fact. You've earned your survival, but you know as well as I do that the Imperium doesn't care for the likes of you. It stings, but I've known it all along. The Imperium doesn't care. The Emperor doesn't care. We are just tools. Disposable. The battle rages on and we are discarded, left to die or fight for scraps. They want our service, but they will never grant us redemption. Never recognize us for what we truly are, survivors, lost souls looking for meaning in a world that only gives us more death. As the officer orders my transport back to the capital, I feel that crushing weight again. The weight of what I am, and what I'll always be. They may have brought me in from the wasteland. They may have saved my life. But the truth is, they saved me because they needed me. They will use me again, throw me into another battle, another fight that means nothing. I will never escape the gears of this machine. Never be more than what they want me to be. And as we move through the ruins, I think back to the scavenger, to the life we shared, to the struggles we faced together. He died for nothing, as I almost did. We fought side by side, but in the end, the Imperium won't remember either of us. Our lives, our struggles, our pain, all of it will be swept away, forgotten like so many others. I have survived, yes, but survival alone is not enough. And in that truth, I realize just how hollow this victory really is. The battle is over, but the war will never end. Not for me. Not for anyone in the Penal Legion. The Imperium may have saved my life today, but they will never save my soul. I don't know how long I've been walking. The days bleed together. Hours, minutes, and seconds lost to the rhythm of my boots scraping against the grimy stone, the faint hum of the transport ship's engines droning in the background. It doesn't matter anymore. Time is a luxury that I can't afford. I'm alive. That's the simple truth of it. But as I stand here among the soldiers who rescued me, I can't help but ask myself, at what cost? The air is thick with the acrid stench of war, the remnants of death and fire hanging heavy in the atmosphere. And yet, as I glance around at the soldiers who walk past me, I can't shake the feeling that I'm nothing more than an echo of something broken. Alive, yes, but forever scarred by everything I've had to endure to make it this far. The ship lurches and I catch a glimpse of the wreckage outside the viewport. It's an eerie sight, the smoldering remains of the battle we've just fought. The planet below is a shattered husk, its surface cracked and burned, scarred by the fires of war. It's a world that has known nothing but death for as long as I can remember. A world that doesn't care about those who fight for it. A world that doesn't care about me. I think about the scavenger, my companion, my only ally in this desolate wasteland. He's gone now, his body left behind, another casualty of a war that doesn't care about anything other than victory. I wonder if he ever found peace in the madness of it all. If in his final moments he believed that his life meant something. For me, there's no such solace. There's nothing but the weight of survival, the knowledge that each breath I take is a reminder of what I've done, of who I was, and who I will always be in the eyes of the Imperium. I've earned my survival, yes. I've fought, bled, and killed for it. But now as I sit in this transport, I can't help but wonder, what now? What happens when the fight is over? When the weapons are put away and the dust settles, what does it mean to have survived? The answer, as I've come to realize, is nothing. Survival means nothing in the eyes of the Imperium. I'm just another expendable tool in a galaxy that chews up and spits out its warriors, one by one. No medals. No accolades. No recognition. Just more battles, more deaths, and more struggle. Every day I wake up with the same question. Is this all there is? I think back to the moments when I fought with everything I had, when I clung to that glimmer of hope that somehow, maybe, I could redeem myself. I could become something more than a criminal. Something more than just another faceless soldier sent to die on a battlefield that doesn't care if I live or die. But what have I really accomplished? Redemption? It seems like an illusion now, something distant and unattainable. I wonder if it was ever even within my reach. The truth is, I don't know what redemption looks like. Maybe it's just a myth, a fairy tale they tell you to keep you from going mad. Or maybe it's just something I'll never find, no matter how hard I try. No matter how many lives I save, no matter how many battles I win. The Imperium doesn't care about the past. It doesn't care about what you've done or what you've suffered. It only cares about what you can do for it now. And what can I do now? The soldiers around me talk amongst themselves, unaware of the battle that rages in my mind. I wonder if they even know what it's like to be me. To be someone who is nothing more than a weapon, a pawn in a game that was never meant to be won. To be someone who has been discarded, cast aside, and left to die in the name of an empire that doesn't give a damn. They say the Imperium rewards loyalty, but I've seen what loyalty gets you. It gets you sent to the Penal Legion, where you're given a lost gun and told to die for a cause you never chose. It gets you treated like vermin, used up and discarded the moment you're no longer useful. Loyalty gets you nothing in the end. It just makes the chains tighter. Maybe that's what bothers me the most, the realization that no matter how much I fight, no matter how hard I try, it will never be enough. There's no escape from this. I'll never be anything more than a tool, a weapon for the Imperium's endless wars. And when my usefulness runs out, I'll be tossed aside, left to rot in some forgotten corner of the galaxy. Or worse, left to die on another battlefield just like all the others before me. So what do I do now? The question hangs in the air, unanswered. There's no one to give me a path forward. No one to offer me guidance. I am alone, surrounded by comrades who don't know me and don't care to. They see me as nothing more than a fellow soldier, a tool that can be used and discarded just like the rest of us. I wonder if I should just accept it. Accept the fact that I'm never going to be anything more than a cog in the machine. That my survival will always come at the cost of something else. My humanity, my soul, my dignity. The price of survival in the Imperium is steep, and I've already paid it. Maybe I've paid more than I ever should have. The Imperium doesn't care for me. I know that now. It never did. And it never will. But I'm still here. And I guess that's all that matters. For now. I sit in the silence of this cold metal chamber, my eyes staring out into the endless void of space, the stars distant pinpricks of light that offer no warmth, no hope. My hands, scarred and trembling, rest in my lap, and the weight of everything that's happened presses down on me, suffocating. My thoughts swirl, sometimes sharp like the sting of a blade, other times dull like a bruise that's slowly sinking deeper into my soul. It's a strange thing, survival. There's no fanfare, no applause, no recognition for the ones who make it through the hells that others succumb to. I've heard the stories, how the great heroes are remembered, their names carved into monuments, their sacrifices immortalized. But I'm not a hero. I'm a soldier. I'm not remembered. I'm forgotten. I should have died on that battlefield. I should have been another casualty, another piece of flotsam in the endless ocean of war. But I didn't. I survived. And now I don't know what to do with that survival. Because in this world, the world of the Imperium of Man, where everything is built on war and bloodshed, survival is not a gift. It's a curse. It's a reminder of what you've lost and what you've done to get here. I think about the people I've killed. The ones who never had a choice, who were forced into this madness just like me. Their blood stains my hands and there's no redemption for it. They say survival is a kind of victory, but what does it mean if all you're surviving for is to fight and kill again? What does it mean if, in the end, you're still just a tool of war, a weapon to be used and discarded when your usefulness is spent? I think back to the day I was left behind. The cold words of the officer still echo in my ears. You're not worth the ammunition. It's a bitter thing being discarded like that. To know that in the eyes of the Imperium, you're nothing more than a number, a resource that's easily replaced. They didn't care about my life. They didn't care that I was a human being, that I had memories, a past, a soul. They saw me as a tool, and when I was no longer useful, I was thrown away. But here I am, still breathing, still alive. Not because I'm important, not because I've earned anything, but because I somehow managed to survive when I shouldn't have. And now I'm left to wonder, what is the point of it all? The horrors I've seen, the things I've done, they've changed me. Maybe they've destroyed the man I once was. I remember the days before the Penal Legion, before the battles, before the blood. I remember a time when I had choices, when I wasn't just another cog in the Imperium's war machine. But that life is gone. The past is buried beneath the weight of the things I've done. And now I am who I am. A survivor. Nothing more. But in the silence of this ship, as I stare out into the endless expanse of space, I can't help but wonder if survival is enough. If simply living through the horrors of this universe is worth anything. Or if it's just another form of punishment. A punishment for the crimes I've committed, for the people I've killed, for the man I've become. I look at the others around me, men and women who, like me, have been thrown into this endless cycle of war. They march forward, day after day, without ever questioning why. They fight because that's all they know. They survive because that's what they're supposed to do. But is that enough? Is surviving enough to make me worthy of anything? The truth is, I don't know. I don't have the answers. Maybe there are no answers. Maybe survival is just another form of damnation. But as I stand here, still alive, still standing, I realize something. I can't stop. Not yet. Maybe I'll never stop. Because in this world, there's no such thing as rest. No such thing as peace. You fight. You survive. And when it's all over, when you've killed enough and bled enough, maybe, just maybe, you'll earn the right to be forgotten. Maybe that's all there is in this world, survival. And maybe that's all I'll ever be, a survivor. But I'll keep fighting because it's the only thing I know how to do. The Imperium doesn't care about me. But I'm here. I've made it this far. And that has to mean something, doesn't it? So, as I sit here, the endless expanse of space before me, I know that the journey isn't over. The war isn't over. It will never end. And maybe that's the cruelest truth of all. We fight. We survive. And then we die. And that's all there is. That's all there ever will be. But for now I'm still here. And I'll keep moving. I'll keep fighting. Until the end. Because that's what survival is. It's not about glory. It's not about redemption. It's not about earning anything. It's about surviving. And that's the price we pay. Every single day.